Welcome to the Quality of Life podcast, where we explore how hospice and palliative care may enhance quality of life for patients living with a serious illness. Here is your host, hospice and palliative care leader and educator, Dr. Millicent Burke-Sinclair.
Hello and welcome to the Quality of Life podcast. I'm here today with Sheri Merrill, Director of Employee and Volunteer Solutions, and Kelly Malenchak, Volunteer Coordinator. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, I'm really excited about what you're going to share with our listeners. And as we start the new year, oftentimes we take a reflection and say, what's most important to me and how might I be able to give back? And this is something that I hope our listeners really enjoy hearing about. And I would encourage anyone, if this is of interest to you, just reach out to us. You can go to our website and find out more about volunteer opportunities and give us a call. So as we dive in, I'd first love for people listening to get to know each of you a little better. So could each of you share a little bit about what brought you to Four Seasons and what you do?
Sure, I can go first. Sheri Merrill, and title is Director of Employee and Volunteer Solutions. And what brought me to Four Seasons is I started out as a volunteer because my father was cared for by Four Seasons at the end of his life. And we got to experience Elizabeth House. So when I had an opportunity to volunteer and give back, I picked Four Seasons to do that. And I've been here now almost 13, 14 years and just can't imagine being anywhere else or doing anything else.
I just love that you started out by volunteering because of an experience that you and your family had. Mm-hmm. And we hear that a lot. Thank you for allowing us to serve your family and your father in particular, but also thank you for choosing to volunteer with us. And you must have found that, hey, I want to be a part of this organization even more. So could you share, you started in your volunteer role, but there's another part of your role as well.
I did. I started out as a volunteer, and during my time as a volunteer, there was a position that became available for a volunteer coordinator, and it was offered to me. It wasn't the plan that I had in mind for myself at the time, as far as career-wise, something I hadn't ever thought about doing as being a volunteer coordinator. But I decided to give it a shot, and I truly found a home with Four Seasons, and that's why I've been here for as long as I have been.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We're glad you're here too.
And I'm Kelly, and I'm one of the 2 volunteer coordinators in our South region. And I came to Four Seasons about 2.5 years ago for a similar reason as Sheri. I had 2 family members that were served here at Four Seasons through the Elizabeth House. And I was just in such awe of the care that they received. We actually had volunteers also assigned to us, and having them come in and just check on us and spend time with our loved ones just meant the world to our family. So when I saw that there was job openings here at Four Seasons, I jumped on the opportunity, and I'm just so very happy to be here. My current role, I manage our volunteers in patient care, so I get to actually see them doing what I was doing, and just being just so appreciative of all of the care and everything that we can give our families. And also, I look over our community volunteers as well. So seeing our volunteers getting out in the community and doing all different things to help our patient families has been such a blessing.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Both such beautiful and meaningful stories. And when I think about both of your stories, as well as many people who work with us and volunteer with us, including my own, there is a reason that we're here. And so for those that are listening, we want you to feel like you can also connect to something that's important to you. And so I have a question for both of you and wonder if you could talk about the relationship between volunteers and nonprofits specifically, because as we know, Four Seasons was founded in 1979, and we were founded as a nonprofit and continue to be one. Our whole focus is on meeting the needs of our community, finding out what's most important to our community, and making compassionate care possible. And it takes really passionate employees as well as really passionate volunteers. So I'd love if you could talk about the relationship between volunteers and nonprofits and why volunteers are really so important to helping us provide good quality care to our community.
So I think nonprofits rely on volunteers to give of their time and utilize their skills, one of which is compassion, to help an organization reach beyond what limited budgets and staff alone can achieve. Volunteers make it possible to deliver that more personalized and definitely compassionate care. And through our volunteers, I think we're able to connect more directly with the community and what those needs are. Um, I think having a dedicated group of volunteers is crucial. They help us not only just in the day to day, but they also help us expand our services, strengthen some of our programs. And I think they also help us just reach individuals who need our care. And I really think that they are, the heart of what we do. They truly are what keeps us going.
That makes me think about how we were established from the very beginning. It was from a group of like-minded volunteers, people who said, we want to make this possible. And so we're going to contribute our time and our heart to making this so. And so I love how you shared that. Now, there could be people who are listening that says, I know that both of you have referenced Elizabeth House, and that's in Flat Rock, but I'm in Franklin or somewhere else. Do you have volunteers throughout all the counties we serve, or are there needs for volunteers throughout all the counties we serve?
Yes, we have volunteers in all of our counties, and we do similar things in all of those counties as far as volunteer support between patient care, also agency support and administrative support. We have coordinators in 2 other regions as well that helps manage those volunteers. So we're able to support all the areas for Four Seasons.
Could you also share why someone may want to volunteer here?
I think volunteering in general just makes you feel good, right? Most people, it leaves them with a sense of being a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And I definitely think you feel that as a hospice volunteer. When I think about our volunteers, I see a group of people that believe really strongly in our mission. And many do this for the same reason that I came to do it. They've been served, whether it's by us or by another hospice, but they've had that feeling. They know what it's like for hospice to come in. And so it's their way to give back, to be able to know that other individuals are receiving support that's truly meaningful during what's a very difficult time for most folks.
What are some volunteer opportunities that Four Seasons makes possible? I could imagine that people listening might say, I have a lot of opportunities throughout the community I live in to volunteer, and I'm trying to figure out where and how I could volunteer. We have a lot of opportunities. So could you share about that?
Sure. I think that's one of the greatest things about volunteering with Four Seasons. There's always opportunities no matter what you like to do. We have volunteers that are more interested in patient-facing opportunities. We have volunteers that will go into homes and provide socialization visits and companionship visits, and also respite relief, allowing those patient families to go to appointments or just get out and take a break and take a walk. We have volunteers that go into facility settings that also provide companionship, socialization. That could be just watching television, reading a book, just sitting and talking sometimes and just being a presence. We also have volunteers that work at our Elizabeth House and help our CNAs and our nurses set up rooms or deliver meals. Just being with the patients and families and visiting and spending time with them. They're very crucial to our Elizabeth House staff and our volunteers over there. We have some that have been doing it for over 20 years. That's just what they love to do. We have volunteers as well bring pet therapy visits into Elizabeth House and facilities. We do grief support as well. So if you're interested in volunteering and getting really to know our patients and families, we have plenty of opportunities for that. But then we have some volunteers that really are more interested in the admin and behind the scenes volunteering, which we have tons of opportunities. We have volunteers that will come in and do administrative support for the volunteer services team. They also help other departments in the organization. We do filing, we do mailings, we do computer work. And we also have a wonderful group of volunteers that do what's called a tuck-in call. They'll come in every Thursday and call all of our home care patients and just check in to see, do you have all the supplies you need? Do you have all the medications? Is there anything anything that our staff needs to know before the weekend. And it's that personal touch. And our patients sometimes and our families will mention that we were looking forward to your call this morning. And just to hear another voice, just to check up on them has been a lot of blessings to a lot of people. And then we have volunteers that work at our home stores. We have 3 home stores across our service area. And our volunteers will go and help stock and price items and help our customers that come into the stores. And we also have community volunteers. If maybe administrative work or patient care isn't your thing, we have people that specialize in baking for our patient families in our Elizabeth House. We have people that play music at our facilities. And then we have a wonderful group of volunteers that do sewing projects and make comfort items to make our patients and families just feel more at home and welcomed. We also have a memory care program where our patients' families are able to send in an article of clothing, and we will make teddy bears and memory items for them. And we receive such positive feedback from those patient families, just having that personal touch and that memory to have. So regardless of your interests, your skill sets, we have something for you to do. And another great thing is if you try something and you want to try something different and reach out, then that's what we do as volunteer coordinators. We just make sure that what you're doing with Four Seasons is satisfying to you and makes you happy as well.
I'm so glad that you shared that. And, what a gift that someone may be thinking, I think I would like to share my time by being a volunteer. And then likewise for them to have just heard, hey, there's a lot of opportunities. I am just always so grateful when I get to meet one of our existing or a prospective volunteer and they share what brought them to Four Seasons and why they choose to volunteer or would be interested in volunteering. And I think what's really unique with us is there are so many volunteering opportunities. And so someone could volunteer truly in many avenues, just what's important to them, what speaks to them, what connects to them. And I tell you, it's really interesting because we have volunteers that have had, perhaps they are retired and they've had careers before, or maybe they're working now and they want to contribute in a field that they're not working in, right? And I've always found it interesting because some will say, I'd like to volunteer in this space because this is my background, or I'd like to volunteer in this space because it's not. It just is something that I love to do. And so as you're listening, I would just say, connect a little bit with your heart. What speaks to you? And if you're unsure, that's part of coming in and going through a volunteer orientation process. And it's really where you get to learn more about what we have to offer for volunteer opportunities, as well as we want to know more about you. So thank you for sharing that. And, that connects to another question that I thought about is impact. Our focus at Four Seasons throughout all of our service lines is to positively impact lives. And we do this every day because our community trusts us to do so. And our volunteers are really key in supporting our employees in doing that. So what would you say would be just a few of the impacts our volunteers make on Four Seasons and the patients and families we serve in our community?
Every single minute that our volunteers give to Four Seasons, we do record, we do track. That includes all of our patient time, our administrative time, and also our continuing education time. Not only are you coming as a volunteer to work with patients or work with the agency support, but we also have opportunities where we have training throughout the year. We call them in-services. We actually want our volunteers to not only give their time, but also learn things while they're here. We have support meetings where we allow our volunteers to come in and get updates on the organization, as well as our volunteer department, and also be able to ask questions and provide feedback, and also meet one another. I've seen so many friendships just blossom from the people that they've met through these different support meetings and activities that we have. But regardless of what you are doing, we record every single minute that you're here. And we actually last year recorded over 33,000 hours of volunteer time, which was the equivalent over $1 million. I think it was $1.14 million in cost savings that was able to go back to the organization. In 2024, that was the first time that our volunteer team, through all their dedicated hours, was able to hit over $1 million. And all of that money is able to go back to the organization and help those in need. And we share all that information with our volunteers just to let them know what kind of impact that they have on the organization and on our patients and families. And they like to watch those numbers go up as well. And I think that they all enjoy getting those updates. But we're just so very appreciative. And we just make sure that they're well loved and that they know how much we appreciate them through all the different activities that we have, appreciation events that we we have, and it just warms my heart.
I love what you shared because it really furthers a sense of community because our volunteers have people that they can connect with and become friends with, whether it's fellow volunteers or others that are around them. And so I'd also like to take a moment and just thank our volunteers because we couldn't do what we do without our volunteers. And so I'm so grateful. You could choose to volunteer anywhere, but it means so much that you choose to volunteer at Four Seasons. And for those who aren't volunteering yet, I would just express gratitude for you even considering, you even taking the time right now to listen to this podcast because people's lives are positively impacted when you choose to be a volunteer. A lot of our patients do have a loved one in their life, but there's also plenty who may not. Maybe their loved ones live out of the area, or maybe they are no longer living. They could be a survivor. And so when we think about that, volunteers go beyond just adding an extra layer of support to our employees, but they actually form that comfort and confidence with those that they're serving. So whether they never meet a patient because they decide to be an administrative volunteer or or volunteer with the home store, whatever it may be, they're still impacting directly. And I just think about someone who is a sewing volunteer, happened to make a pillow or a quilt or some item. Just think about the hands that go to hold that and the comfort that that brings. And so I just want to express gratitude for those that presently volunteer as well as those who are considering it because you make a lasting impact. So thank you. Do you have a story of how a volunteer has touched a patient or family's life through their work volunteering at Four Seasons?
Yes, through our Memory Bear program, we get a lot of positive feedback from patient families that just receive that bear or that pillow that the volunteer will sew, and they are just so touched by it. We actually received a letter last week. If I could read that,
Please.
I'd like to share it. It says, "Dear Four Seasons volunteer, my daughter and I would like to express our gratitude for the two one-of-a-kind treasures you made out of my husband's shirts. The teddy bear is precious and the pillows were very well made. You have remarkable skills and we will always think of you when we look at these items along with thinking of our husband. Thank you so much for your special work you do and may God bless you." We get those letters all the time, and we love to share those with the volunteers. We actually have an area in our volunteer workroom where we hang all of the thank you cards and all the notes we received. Last week, we also received a picture with the recipient holding the bear in the pillow, and it had all their family in the picture, too. It was very heartwarming. So, of course, we have that hanging on the board as well, and we love to share that feedback with the volunteers. We have a volunteer that had a family member on service about 3 years ago, and she received our tuck-in calls. So we have volunteers that would call her every Thursday. And once her family member passed, she waited about 1.5 years. And then she decided that she wanted to volunteer specifically for tuck-in calls. So I remember during her interview, she had come in and told me her story. And we usually go through all the different opportunities that we have just to make sure the volunteers can make the decision on where they would like to start. And she said, "I just want to do tuck-in. You have no idea what it meant to me. Every Thursday, I knew between 9 and 10 o'clock, I would be receiving a call from a volunteer. And I knew the 3 or 4 names that would be calling me. And it was like a family friend or a friend calling me to check in. And I want to be able to give back to the families as well." And now we're receiving just feedback from those families saying, we appreciate her calling us. So it's come full circle. So we just really appreciate all those stories and how they touch all of our patients' lives.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow, it's hard not to have tears come to your eyes because when you think about truly the impact that's made by people saying yes to volunteering. And so if you're listening and you say, I want to know more, I need to know more, could you share a little bit about how someone could find out more about volunteering?
Sure. So if someone is interested, they are welcome to visit our website. They can apply directly through the website. There's also just an interest form on the website that they can complete. And if they complete the interest form, that will get sent to one of our volunteer coordinators who will then give them a call and just talk a little bit more about the program, maybe elaborate a little bit on what they've heard today, and then just see what they're interested in. They can also call the main number and ask to speak to anyone in the volunteer department, and that number is area code 828-692-6178.
Thank you so much for that. And, it makes me also reflect on people might say, I don't have a lot of time, but I would like to volunteer. And I would just encourage people to reach out, because volunteering is truly that. You volunteer for the time that you have available. And our team is grateful for your willingness and your commitment in whatever level of time that you have to give. And certain people may spend a portion of their time here, and maybe they spend a portion of their time somewhere else, and that's okay. We have volunteers that do that. I don't know if either of you might want to just speak to that question that we often get when people say, I feel compelled to volunteer. I'd love to, but I don't have a lot of time.
Absolutely. So we have volunteers who sometimes give 2 hours a month, and then we have other volunteers who have a little more flexibility and more time, and they may volunteer 10 hours a week. We also have seasonal volunteers. So we have some volunteers who call North Carolina home for maybe 4 to 6 months out of the year, and then they might go to Florida for, say, the winter. We've got a place for anybody, and doors open for as much time as they can give.
Well, I'm so grateful for each of you who chose to listen today, and we just encourage you, please reach out. We would love to learn more about what's important to you as you assess volunteer opportunities. And just know that by you choosing to reach out, you are already helping us co-create just by you expressing interest. And as you express interest, it fills our heart with joy to know that you care. And we would love for you to be a part of us co-creating the care experience. Thank you both so much for joining us today. And so for more information about our services or anything that Sheri and Kelly have shared, you can go to our website at fourseasonscare.org. Thank you so much.
The Quality of Life podcast is produced by Four Seasons, the care you trust, providing award-winning quality hospice and palliative care to Western North Carolina. For more information, visit fourseasonscare.org or call 866-466-9734.